So on this week's show, I stopped gawping at your mum's latest uploads just long enough to check out those fresh new Xiaomi 17 Ultra leaks and rumours, and boy does it look like a belter. And we'll also check out a mega fan's online shrine to everything Tech Spurt Weekly, and of course squeeze in a big ol' fistful of viewer comments. Jingle me. Tech Spurt Weekly! So just a few weeks back, Xiaomi launched its latest 17 series flagship phones over in China. And while the rest of the world sits around glumly twiddling its thumbs and huffing at the lack of a global launch, it appears that China might be enjoying yet another big Xiaomi reveal imminently. Namely the Ultra model, which tends to be unveiled at a separate shindig from the rest of the flagship family. However, the Xiaomi 17 Ultra has already leaked more than a candy floss G-string, revealing quite a few key details. For instance, Xiaomi has apparently axed the Pro version's gimmicky arse display, which YouTubers lost their tiny collective minds over, despite this being done multiple times already on other phones this past decade. Instead, Xiaomi will apparently concentrate on filling that rear end with ridiculously good camera tech. It'll be the usual Leica branded setup, of course consisting of several camera sensors, and leading that lineup is an OmniVision OV50X, which is a massive 50 megapixel 1-inch sensor which is yet to be slapped into any other smartphone. And alongside that beast you'll apparently find a 50 meg ultra wide shooter plus a 200 meg Samsung HP5 sensor attached to a periscope telephoto lens. So very similar to what was slapped inside of the OPPO Find X9 Pro. And this HP5 boasts cutting edge tech to improve light intake, such as front deep trench isolation. And you know who else has got a front deep trench? Your mum, and it's never isolated for long like. And the Xiaomi 17 Ultra should also pack the most premium components elsewhere, from the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, which powers the latest games on the highest graphics settings, to another supremely bright and poppy 6.8 to 6.9 inch OLED screen, backed by powerful stereo speakers. And good news if you're keen, because these web whisperings point to a December launch over in China for the Xiaomi 17 Ultra, closely followed by a rollout globally in the new year. And hopefully not just for the Xiaomi 17 Ultra, hopefully for the rest of the bloody series as well. And anyway, let us know what you reckon down in the comments below, and now it's time for this. Uncle Spurt reacts to stuff and some of it makes him glum. Some makes him happy, some makes him mad, and some of it is your mum. Now at the end of last week, a member of the Spurtan army called Marek got in touch to say that he discovered Tech Spurt Weekly last August, and since then he'd smashed his way through every single episode. That's approximately 75 hours of this rancid bollocks. You know, he could have probably written a novel in that time, but I salute your bold life choices, sir. But not only did he watch every single episode, he also documented a hefty portion of the filthy sewage gushing out of my mouth in a website, which you can check out right now. I'll post the link in the video description. And let me tell you, he really went to town on this thing. So you've got a Tech Spurt vocabulary section, so you can actually decipher what the hell I'm banging on about. He's documented all the various jingles I've composed over the years. Apparently there was an iPhone SE jingle, I can't even remember that one. iPhone SE, dearie dearie me, I'd rather stick thorns up the place where I pee from. iPhone SE can get right in the sea, cause it's hot f***ing garbage most undebatably. He's even documented the old Quickies show that I used to do on the Rakombu channel, which was bloody years ago. So yeah, absolutely an essential bit of documentation. It's basically the Samuel Pepys diary of its day. Just a few more gags about leaky cocks. So forget firefighters and paramedics. Marek, you are a true hero, sir. And now from one mental viewer to several mental viewers, it's time for viewer comments. Viewer comments.
Hey, how you doing?
And let's start this week with Trevor Liao. You eat Trevor, who says, "Hello Uncle Spurt, love all the way from Malawi." Oh, very cool. I've sadly never been, but it certainly looks like a vibe, as all the kids possibly still say. I have looked into it kind of as well, because Mrs. Spurt, she really wants to go on safari at some point in her life, basically. It's been on her bucket list forever. Your Uncle Spurt, not quite so convinced by safaris, gotta say. You know, my ideal holiday is basically get on a plane, go somewhere warm, have a nice wee potter about, get a smashing bit of sunburn, try a bit of the local food, and then spend the rest of my time just hoying the local booze down my throat until it's finally time to stagger back onto a plane, blistered and bollocksed, and bugger off back to Blighty. I'm not really sold on the whole idea of pissing about in a Jeep, getting really up close to a bunch of stuff that just wants to be left alone. Especially anything that weighs about the same as 10 Andre the Giants, or that has teeth longer than Tommy Lee's love truncheon. I mean, I enjoy David Attenborough documentaries because, you know, I can just sit there on my sofa in my pants and enjoy them while quaffing ale and throwing salty snacks down my throat. You know, there's no risk of having my bowels ripped out of my body and shredded and tossed about the place like gory confetti. Because, you know, I also enjoy watching horror movies, but that doesn't mean I want to go on a f***ing country ramble with Nosferatu. Anyway, got a little bit off track there. Hello, Malawi. Smoria709 says hello from Serbia, another place that I've never visited, but that is definitely on the list. I've got to say that's probably more my vibes, salty sausage and plum brandy that turns you blind for 48 hours. Heard absolutely nothing but great things, so yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, one day I'll be able to shoot a Spurt haul video from there. Joanne Baldwin says, looking remarkably perky, Uncle Spurt, marvellous. Perk to the max, that is me, for sure. Jody Rigsby says, did you just call the US Trump land? I did, yes, although let's face it, us lot are going to become Farageville soon enough. But anyway, I'm absolutely not going to bang on about politics because, yeah, that always ends well. P. Simpson says, keep doing whatever this is, it's great. I guess alcoholism does have an upside. Yes, always got to look on the bright side, even as my liver gently weeps. Sinwar here's actually got a tech-related comment. Says, when do we get a Galaxy S thick with a 10,000 milliamp hour battery? Yeah, wishful thinking. Unfortunately, going to slap on my old Mystic Meg wig and just state right now on the record that's never going to happen. I just hope that they stop buggering about and actually finally get some silicon carbon tech into their smartphones soon, especially if they're going to insist on spaffing out yet more slim smartphones. But anyway, Sherwine simply says, Exynos chipset is ass, with a capital A, no less. Love it. Etienne Sharp says, I was going to ask if you were ever going to do a full bit of YouTube wankery and release an everyday carry video. Oh yeah, as in a hey guys, what's in my tech bag type abomination. And then I realised it would just be 4 cans of special brew in a little polythene bag. You're actually not far off, mate. I did do a maybe slightly piss-takery what's in my tech bag type video not so long ago. Actually, I think it was quite a while ago. It was probably about 3 or 4 years ago. I'll try and find it and I'll stick it in here. So first up, naturally, always have a couple of beers chucked in the bag just to help lubricate the old throat. Keep thirst at bay when you're on a long trip. It's especially good if you're going to be stuck at a train station or on a long train journey. Of course, if the tech event happens to be abroad, then that means getting on a plane. You can't take all those beers with you, so you'll have to drink them before you get through customs, and that is where the little whiskey miniatures come in really handy. These bad boys are cabin baggage friendly, so just stick them in your toiletry bag along with your toothpaste and all the rest of it. That's really handy, especially if you're in pleb class and you have to actually pay for your own booze. And next up we've got, now this is an absolute classic, Windy Knickers. It's a fantastic way of passing all those long, boring hours sat around in a hotel room waiting for the tech event to actually kick off. It's a riot. And next up is the old reliable nasal trimmer, and again a vital inclusion in the kit bag of any tech traveller, or at least any tech traveller who's been on this miserable f***ing planet as long as Uncle Spurt has. So it may be a bit of a slaphead up top, but Mother Nature is a bit of a joker, shall we say, so I've got enough hair sprouting from my nostrils and my lug holes to basically set up my own wig shop, but not once I've had at them. And then last up in the kit bag we've got good old Veronica, who's she's quite useful for photo samples, for instance. Yeah, that'll do. Lowtex7879 Lowtex says, when will you also test out the iPhone 17 Pro Max? I could watch elsewhere, but I prefer the unusual humour of this channel. Oh, mate. I really couldn't bring myself to order one at launch. I mean, the one iPhone is already too many iPhones, so I did the iPhone Air and just called it a f***ing day at that. But I promise at some point I will grab an iPhone 17 Pro Max and do a full review of that. F***ing pinky promise, scouts honor, dib dib dib, all that bollocks. At least by delaying that particular pain, it means that the Apple geniuses have got time to work out all of the launch time bulky bollocks that plagues like every iPhone ever. Might even actually finally get a half-decent Siri now that Apple's basically just given up and paid Google a bunch of money to do it for them. David Ashmore says, "Hi Uncle Spurt, the iPhone Pocket, pretentious or some mad genius marketing? It's an absolute sack of soggy wank biscuits, mate. I mean, what it basically looks like is that you can't afford a proper bag and so you're carrying your phone around in a Borat-style mankini. I mean, Apple even admits on its bloody website that it's just a piece of cloth. And yet they've got the brass spuds to charge 220 quid for it. It's just the bloody Mac Pro wheels kit all over again." David also says, "Salt and vinegar French fries are S-tier crisps for me." Oof. Absolutely, yes. The French fries and also the salt and vinegar discos as well. That is like proper, like legendary crisps right there. Gavin Crisp says, "I find all-dressed crisps to taste like prawn cocktail, if my tongue's memory serves." And please tell me, with a name like Gavin Crisp, that you actually do crisp reviews, right? And yeah, that sounds about right, because I guess the all-dressed, from what I can recall of last week's show, is basically like ketchup and mayo and a bunch of sauce all chucked together, so you probably basically end up with pink sauce. CSYD22 says, "AI is ruining phones with crappy camera add-ons." You know, the camera add-on that annoys me the most is those bloody stupid annoying animations that you can turn on during video chats. So I swear to God, every time catching up with the family online with a video chat, one of the kids will think it's hilarious to turn on the animations and then suddenly everyone's pissing rainbows out of their eyeballs. Like just the other day, my mum was telling us all about how one of our relatives had been diagnosed with a terminal illness, and halfway through telling us, she suddenly transformed into a sparkly unicorn, which, to be honest, made the news a bit easier to take. Phil G says, "I'm unfortunately getting the iPhone 16e as a work phone on Monday. Bloody workplace abuse, mate." Phil continues, "To make it slightly less poop, can you recommend anywhere to get the same style of wallpapers as your spurty self?" Oh, my friend, on that count, I can certainly help to ease the pain a wee bit in the form of a lovely wee jingle. Wall.alphacoders.com, wall.alphacoders.com, that's where my wallpapers come from, wall.alphacoders.com. Mythic Sun says, "If there's one thing I can't wait to hear your thoughts on, it's the Steam Machine, which the internet has already lovingly nicknamed the Gabe Cube." Yeah, I mean, I guess it might be a good way of convincing the other half to let you stick a gaming rig in the front room if they're not too keen on the idea of having a massive f***off PC sat there next to the telly. Of course, it all really depends on the price of the bloody thing. I think they'll keep it fair, because at least the Steam Deck's, you know, it's a decent price for a handheld compared with some of its rivals. So yeah, I don't think they'll take the piss, but only time will tell. And Daryl Davies says, "What has been your album of the year?" Oh, that is bloody tough. It really kind of depends on my mood at the time, to be honest, because sometimes I'm in the mood for just like shouty, angry metal, and other times I quite happily slap on, you know, some 80s bangers from back in the day. But albums I've been banging on repeat this year include Fit for a King, Thornhill, bit of the Callous Cowboys, fantastic album, can't get enough of those guys. Villanova and Teen Mortgage I've had on quite a lot recently. And if I'm in more of a happy, jolly, bounce around like I just singed my scrotum kind of mood, I'm definitely enjoying the recent Pendulum album and Dance Gavin Dance, that was a good one too. And I've got to say it as well, I don't know if you've seen the Downloads 2026 lineup, but holy sh**, I guess for me, certainly irresistible combination of banging metalcore from recent times and also just classic back in the day acts that I used to enjoy, you know, when I was like 20 something. So look at this lineup now, you've got some amazing bands on here. Bad Omens, Electric Callboy, seen them live, they're so much fun. Pendulum, who I just mentioned, of course. Bloody Woods, Kublai Khan, bit of Let Live, Set It Off, Scene Queen, Periphery. I would love to see those guys. the Plotting U, Thornhill, and these are all like in the way down the poster bit as well. Like they don't even have their official logos or anything. And then from back in the day, you've got like Guns N' Roses, Limp Bizkit, Cypress Hill. I'd friggin' love to see Cypress Hill live as well. You've got Bush, you've got Ash, you've got Feeder, you've got POD and bloody Drowning Pool. So yeah, that, for me, that's an absolute must. I'm going to definitely try and get tickets this year, although I'm not sure that my knackered old body can really tolerate several nights of lying in a piss-streaked field. I would probably actually just dissolve. Anyway, God, I've been banging on for far too long now. Sorry, getting distracted by stuff. So I better make this the last comment of the week. 2Mattles says, will you be posting your best phones of 2025 video? Mate, does the Pope shit in a solid gold Pope toilet? Abso-friggin-lutely. I'm finishing off the last couple of phone reviews that are, you know, my tech pile actually finally being whittled down. We're getting there. So yeah, massive thank you to everyone who commented last week. Love you guys, and thanks for watching this shower right to the bitter end. As always, please do tappity-tap-tap your comments down below. We'll get through as many of those as possible next week. And speaking of next week, what the f is next week? Well, next week we have some distinctly Poco-shaped launch shenanigans happening on November the 26th. They're doing a big launch event over in Bali. Your Uncle Spurt will not be in Bali due to various other obligations, sadly, but I will be right here in my studio, as always, next week to serve up another delicious slice of Tech Spurt Weekly, and I will have some Pocorific content ready for your eyeballs as well. So please do poke, subscribe, and ding that notifications bell if you haven't already to be the first to crack on with all that. And have yourselves a bloody wonderful weekend. I love you.